What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Tyler. We're here for another video in our Avengers Endgame community series. We're going to be talking about the movie. Now the movie is actually out, we're going to start talking about some spoilers of the film, and we want to start off with the biggest spoiler of all. We want to talk about the importance of Tony Stark's death. So obviously, Tony Stark died at the end of Avengers Endgame. We all went through our range of emotions with that character, and we want to talk about basically why it needed to happen, why it needed to be him, and just all around the importance of why Tony Stark needed to die. And we obviously want to hear from you guys in the comments below as well. Leave in the comments what you guys thought of that insane death and, the emotions you all went through. So Tyler, Tony Stark obviously created it all. He started it all back with the first Iron Man, and he ended it, in a pretty awesome way. I think it was one of the better scenes in the whole movie. So what do you think, the importance of his death was? We talked a lot about the long lasting legacy of whoever was going to defeat Thanos, whoever was going to die. They needed to leave behind a legacy. So do you think they did that with Tony Stark? What do you think about his death?
Well, I'm just going to say, and if you guys saw our ending explained video, I said something very similar as to what I'm about to say, and that is that Tony Stark is now cemented as like I called him ultimate. I don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot of words you could use, but yeah, ultimate would be a good one. Ultimate superhero, ultimate hero in that universe. There will not be anybody that surpasses his status. And the reason for that, you look at how Tony Stark was in his younger years. He was kind of, he didn't like responsibility. He had a hard time with his father. He had drinking problems. He was with all these different women. He was kind of like a playboy, but he didn't really care about anything else. He didn't really care about Stark Industries. He didn't really care about anything, at all. And he was like that for a long time. I mean, his parents, if you remember, his parents died when he was still in college. So he was in his early 20s. He doesn't become Iron Man until almost 40, or in his early 40s. So really, I mean, he had no responsibility. He didn't care at all about anything for many, many years. But then we already know, we all know what happens, and he becomes Iron Man, and then he starts to realize that the world that he lives in and what he thought it wasn't what he thought it was. And he had the chance to make it a little bit better. And he starts having more of these responsibilities. He starts getting closer to Pepper rather than just being with all these different women. He starts to commit into a relationship. And he starts to grow over all of these films. And then obviously he meets Peter Parker, and it's kind of almost like a son to him, where he never really had that, but then we know that he started to want a kid. So he goes through all of these changes where he's just totally a different character. He's a totally different person, even though he still has all these flaws. He's still rational and all that stuff. That's why Civil War happens. He holds grudges and all that kind of stuff that humans do. People do that. So he is kind of an imperfect character, but he's trying. He's still growing as a character. And then we get to Endgame, and he's really upset because they lost, and he's really upset with Steve Rogers, Captain America. And he basically is like, I'm done. I'm finished. And we actually predicted that he would quit early on in the film. We got that right. And so when he does that, he's able to finally do what I honestly never thought he could do it. Settle down. He gets married. We already knew that he would get married, but he's married. He's still with Pepper for 5 years. He has a little girl, Morgan. So he settles down. He's got a log cabin type house. It's a nice house. He's got a wife. He's got a kid. He's just living his life, which is something when you think about all the things I said, drinking, being with all these women, that's not the life that anybody really thought he would ever have. Putting down the suit, that was something that was so hard for him because he always had this itch to keep going, and it wasn't good enough, and he wanted to put a shield around the world. He wanted to protect everybody, and he failed, and he kind of accepted it, and then he just wanted to live. And he had that moment. He had it for 5 years. And then the time came where it's time to put back on the suit. It's time to make things right. We need to fix this. And he does it. And then to go out the way he does, and the last thing he says is, I am Iron Man. And he snaps his fingers and he erases Thanos. He erases his whole army. He saves the universe because Thanos was going to wipe out. This version, the 2014 version in 2024, wasn't going to wipe out half the population. He went beyond that because he realized that it wouldn't work. So he decided that he was going to erase the entire universe and start over the way that he wanted it to. So Tony basically said to himself, I had my life. I had it for 5 years. I had my chance. I had a wife. I had a kid. I got to live. Others can't do that. This man's going to stop everybody anywhere in the entire universe from ever having that. Ever. He's going to take all of it away. My little girl, she's going to die. Pepper, my wife that I love, she's going to die. My friends, they're all going to die. Everything that I've done up to this point, it's all for nothing. Can't happen. I am Iron Man, and he ends it. That is anybody that's alive from this point on, this 2024 on, in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, owes their life to Tony Stark. That is the legacy that we said on this channel he will have. When we said he will die, we said he'll have a legacy. And that is exactly what he does. Everybody owes their life to Tony Stark. That will always be there. He is literally the savior of the universe. How you top that title, you can't. That's why I'm saying he is the ultimate hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I honestly didn't think... I knew there was going to be a legacy. We said that he was going to die. We were right on that. We weren't quite sure, obviously, how he was going to die, but we were right. But I didn't. I knew there was going to be a legacy, like I said, but I didn't know it was going to be like he saves the entire universe type legacy. You can't top that, and you shouldn't be able to top that. You shouldn't be able to top Tony Stark. He started it all, so he deserves that mantle for us to always remember. And he is a hero. He's an imperfect hero. And that's what makes him so great, because he is imperfect. We can all relate to him because none of us are perfect. So it's just, I love how they did that. They did such a great job. Absolutely, he needed to die. Like I said, started with him. They need a legacy going forward. This was that one chance. This was the end game. The universe owes it to him. And the Marvel Universe is going to be expanding big time over the next couple of years. And if it wasn't for Tony Stark, they wouldn't exist. So it's something for everybody to look to, really. Spider-Man, obviously, that's an obvious one. Even Bucky was upset at the end of the funeral because he probably feels bad. He's like, I know I killed this dude's parents, and if he didn't just save my life, I'd be dead. And there's really nothing I could do to make it right. Like, I killed his parents. But he's still, I know he tried to kill me, but even though he had all these thoughts about me, he still ended up saving my life. So he put that aside. So, like, there's all these different characters. Even Wanda, who was kind of going to be not imprisoned, but, well, sort of. They all, really, anybody who was against Tony in Civil War, they went to jail. All that was put aside, he saved everybody. So they all, and they worked with him. So there's characters that we've met, and it's just the impact from Tony Stark. You can't replicate it if he didn't die. I really don't know how else to say it. I don't know if maybe Alex can say it a little bit better, but his death goes so far and wide, much more than really his life could have. If he would have survived and just went home and he's with his daughter and all that stuff, that wouldn't have been the same as his death. His death cements the Tony Stark legacy.
Yep, and even Pepper said it towards the beginning of the film when she said, like, you wouldn't be able to rest until when he figured out time travel. So that's kind of just the character Tony Stark is, and we talked about that, like Tyler said, and we called that he would die, but we said a lot in that video that holds true here is, one, whoever was going to be the one to do that, as you see throughout the movie, it kind of becomes clear, like, whoever is going to end up doing this is probably going to have to sacrifice their life. We knew their there'd have to be sacrifices. We talked about that with the possibility of Cap doing it, and it ended up being Scarlett Johansson. So, Nat ended up dying, and obviously Tony Stark sacrificed himself knowingly. There's no way he thought that he was going to be able to make it out of that snap alive. And that's just what happens, And like Tyler said, that this is a legacy that should never be able to be beaten. And for what these movies are, and for what that, especially that last hour, what that whole scene, was, we have never seen something like that before. I think it's going to be nearly impossible to ever see something like that again. And to have Tony Stark kind of cap it all off when he's the one who started it all, very, very difficult to ever replicate, and it really shouldn't be replicated because it's just a really special moment. They all owe him their lives, and like Tyler said, he's an imperfect hero. He's got a lot of flaws. He's got, he's not the most morally responsible person like Cap, but he's still in a way is, right. He shoulders a lot of the blame, and he knows that he needs to do what needs to be done. If he didn't know that, if he wasn't willing to risk it all, he would never have drove up to Avengers Base and said I'm in. So the legacy of Tony Stark obviously is very much cemented. He's in my opinion my favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And obviously a lot of people were brought to tears by that ending scene for sure. So guys, let us know in the comments below, what do you guys think of Tony Stark's death? What's the importance of it to you? What's the importance of it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let us know, and make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. We're going to be having an Avengers Endgame video every single day for the next week plus, so we hope to see you guys on all of our future videos.